All right. Don't know where Tola is, but I can start. Cool. Thanks for coming to the show. See you next week. No, I don't know. He never said anything about not coming, so I'll give him a little bit of time and see if he arrives or messages or anything. Um, what have I got to talk about in the meantime? Shit. Probably should have planned something. Hector first. Yes. Hector, you look great. I saw a picture or a video or something of you the other day. Were you doing some Sentinel or something? Or where did I see you? I don't know. Maybe it's a story or something. But I thought Hector's looking good. Um, hello, Alyssa. Hello, ironically fit. Ironically fit. What does that mean? Ironically, like you're sarcastically fit. um. So the plan is that Tola is going to come on and we're going to talk about him, teams, his teams over the last like 2 or 3 years. Um, I love the burpees during class. Yeah, they didn't. It's actually pretty funny. So I'm doing 100 burpees a day for the year, and I told the kids that I teach um, that we'd be doing that, that I'd be doing it. How can I do this now? Let me see. Oh yeah, there we go. I told the kids in my class that we'd be doing it, and I said, "Look, we'll do sets of 10 throughout the day, and if you don't want to do it, you have to at least do 5 each time." Um, so I said, anyone that wants to can do 100 sets of 10 over the course of the day. Anyone that doesn't want to do 100, you have to at least do 10 for the first go, and then you can do sets of 5 after that if you want, and you can stop when you get to 50, or you can keep going and do the last set with us as well. And they're all like, right, okay, that's fine. And then we did the first set, and that's a great picture. Jonathan Ortega took that. Um, yeah, they didn't. Here's Tola. Hi, Tola. You hear me?
Hear me?
I can hear you.
Hello?
Oh, yeah, I can hear you. I think it's coming through your laptop, not your
It,
headphones.
it is. I'm trying to figure out how to connect them. Give me 2 seconds.
No problem. Um, I'll just keep talking while you're doing that. Um, so yeah, then afterwards, I said to the kids that like I said, oh, I'm doing it every day for the year, and like one of them almost started crying because he thought it would be them also doing it for the like every day for the year. I said, no, we're not doing it every day in school, but the plan is to do it maybe once a week with them and see um, if they like doing it.
Did I do? Okay, those headphones are not working. I'm going to try these ones.
That's okay. You take your time.
And if these don't work, well, we're just going to have to go no headphones, which is no good.
Yeah, it's not probably not as bad as you think it is either.
Okay. Then I won't stress about it.
Yeah. Have we got parents' complaints? No, but that was only today. I'm actually expecting. Told I'm doing 100 burpees a day for the year, and
Oof.
I did it with the kids in my class. I'm a teacher, and I did it
Yeah.
with the kids in my class today. I did like sets of 10 over the course of the whole day,
Okay.
just to spread it out. Because I mean, I'm not a sadist, um, and I was just saying that like one or two of them, I said like, "Oh, I'm doing this every day for the year," and one of them like was like, "No," and I was like, "No, you're not doing it. I'm doing it every day." I was like, "I might do it with you maybe once a week." And they seemed okay with it. Some of them I just let them do sets of 5 instead of sets of 10. Um, but Vindicate asked, "Have I gotten any parent complaints?" I don't think I will. I think what might happen is, what I hope happens is one or two, and I can pick out just even from that picture I showed, I could pick out. 2 or 3 of the kids that will do it. 1 or 2 of the kids will come in tomorrow and say, "Oh, I did more burpees last night when I went home." That's my aim. Is that like, or maybe tomorrow I'll see them doing them on yard or something when they're outside.
Mm,
Um, yard probably makes it sound like it's prison, but that's just
yeah, a
what
little
we call
bit.
that's what,
Like,
that's what we call recess.
yeah, okay.
Is yard. How are you?
I'm good. I'm curious, how many days in are you for your 100 burpees a day?
What date is it? The 25th. So 25 days in.
How
I
are you?
started on New Year's Day.
How are you doing?
Yeah, good. The first, I'm doing it. I don't know if you know J.R. Howell. He's a coach. He owns CrossFit Crash and Crash Crucible and Crescendo and those things. He's doing it as well. He asked me, did I want to do it? And I said, okay. And I messaged him after a while, like after about 4 or 5 days. I was like, "Are you doing anything different, like with your general moving around stuff? Like, are you like activating different things before? Are you just going doing burpees, or are you like, oh, I need to take care of my shoulders in a different way or something?"
Mm.
I think I actually called it your scap bits. So like the bits around your scapula. I was like, "There's a lot of like this going on. Should I be doing something?" And he was kind of laughing at it, and he was like, "Yeah, I mean, you're basically doing 100 push-ups every day, going from like doing them intermittently across the week or whatever, whenever they pop up." So he's like, maybe add in some extra pulling bits, like just to balance stuff out. But I actually find, so the thing that I found the hardest at the start was the number 100. So like stepping up and being like, right, I have to do 100. It just seems like so fucking much. But then
Mm.
once you do like 5, you're like, oh, sure, I'm halfway through 10. And then once I get 10 done, that's a fifth of halfway. Like I'm almost at 50. And then once I have 50 done, I'm halfway. And you can just kind of chip away at it. But when you see the number 100, it's
Yeah,
like,
for
fuck,
sure.
it's going to take like 2 hours.
Yeah, for sure. I feel
Um,
like you should every 2 weeks on one of your days just do 100 straight, and then you'll have like you can
a
see the
metric.
progress of across the year of
Yeah,
do you
I
know
did.
how long like 100 would take you straight?
I think, oh, I'm gonna hate myself for saying this. I'll do that tomorrow, Tola, and I'll let you know how long it takes.
Yeah.
I did. So Jr. is a lot fitter than I am, and he did a few of the days. He did an EMOM. I think he did an 8-minute EMOM of 12, and then did 16 in his last minute or something to make it 100. And I think I did. I think I did it, but I did all of them 12, and then I did like 4 just at the end or
Right.
whatever. I did
Right.
like a 9-minute AMRAP of 12 and did 4. So I think that's my metric. That has been my metric of like, can I keep, because like an EMOM is a good test because you kind of have to push it every time instead of doing it like any point during the 100 you could just take a break. Whereas if you're doing an EMOM, it's like, shit, I've got 10 seconds left to get this. Like on the last few minutes, it was like, I'd finish my last burpee and it'd be like 2, 1, go again.
I'm familiar.
Yeah. So I think my aim is to do that like once a month, that 12-minute or 8-minute EMOM or whatever, and then see if it gets easier or different. But like body wise, funnily enough, I actually feel more athletic. Like I feel like I'm jumping out of my burpees better than I was at the start. It was a bit of a struggle bus at the start. Like, just coming out of the lying down position was just shit. Whereas now I feel like I'm kind of springing forward. Like,
Yeah. I don't know if you ever get weird stuff popping up on your like reels or on your Instagram, but there's this guy, I think his name's like Burpee King, and he just does burpee variations and push-ups for like all of his workouts. And watching the explosivity he has out of the bottom of his push-up position is like, obviously your body's going to adapt if you're doing something every day, but he is like freaky explosive in the upper body.
yeah, even just I literally just saw his is this him?
No, that's not him, but also cool.
Also, ridiculously explosive. They're not burpees either, you fucking
No,
liar.
he's like doing burpees in his living room in like a tank top and a do-rag. It's amazing.
It's not burpee. It's not Alan, is it? Not that guy.
Burpee King.
Yeah, I don't know. Not coming up.
Anyways, I
Yeah,
just like
I definitely feel more athletic. Like I definitely feel more I don't know, like springy or something. But
Yeah,
I don't know as well, as that just like because it's less daunting, so I'm kind of moving faster. Do you know what I mean? I'm not like as just like, "Oh, fuck this every time I have to start doing it." I'm more like, all right, fine. Like it's just set to 10. It's fine. But I'd always be like that with workouts. If I'm doing like a 5K run,
yep.
after I'm 500 meters in, I'm like, all right, I'm halfway to one fifth of the way there. And then I kind of start, or if I'm on the rower, I'm like, all right, I've got like however many meters until I'm a quarter of the way to halfway. And I just like, it's maths, really shit, pathetic maths. But that's all I do. So then I'm the same with the burpees where I'm like, all right, it's only 10 sets of 10. It's only 100 sets of one. It's fine.
Honestly, I do the same thing, especially when I'm running. If I'm on a treadmill or the real Burpee King, I think that might be it.
Oh, okay. Give that a look.
Um, if I'm on the treadmill, I'll like count down like with my breaths.
Oh,
Um,
yeah.
and like every time I get to 10, I'm like, okay, I'm 100 meters in. I'll like check it real quick. And once I kind of have it dialed in the breathing to the meterage, I'm just counting the entire time. And it's this dude, how good. Yeah. Like this is his workout every
Yeah,
day. It's just
geez,
like,
the way he jumps out, this bit, that's so like effortless looking.
oh, wait for him to like get going. It's amazing.
That's crazy.
Just every
Fucking
day with the lights.
yeah, shit. Stay focused on staying consistent. Okay. What's he doing here?
I don't know. I think he's gonna dance. He's got a sick boombox
Oh.
though.
He kind of looks like a Pitbull.
He does look like Pitbull.
Wow, he's so
Yeah,
springy. That is
yeah.
crazy.
Just easy.
Yeah, it looks like he's not even.
I mean, like he's not all the way down, but like for pure
Yeah,
just
cool.
power sake.
That's cool. I love as well that he's also just like he looks so unassuming, like he's just wearing like black shoes, like ridiculously high socks.
I bet
You
he
know,
can
like,
do 100 burpees really quickly.
yeah, man, he should do 100. Fucking hell, they're long shorts.
Amazing. Anyways, that's who I was talking about.
That's crazy. God, I'm going to go down a rabbit hole of that now. Yeah. So right, I'm just going to jump in. Fuck it. Here's two lads who are just two good lads doing good work. Great lads all around. Okay, thanks, Michael. Uh, what? Right, I've spoken to you about this multiple times, and I'm going to continue to speak to you about it multiple times. Because you mentioned running there, and your transformation from a specialist and someone who like give you a bar and watch the magic or whatever, like set records, like, you know, who's going to finish second, basically. Your transformation from that person into, and I feel like maybe this little stint had a lot to do with it. I'm getting cocky now sharing my screen so much. But your transformation from that specialist, and I don't know, is it like hanging around this guy or Yami or a combination of all those factors? But your ability to transform yourself into someone who can more than hold your own on a running workout is fucking nuts.
Yeah, I would say it's a combination. I was trying to do it for a few years and I just like I was chipping away at it, but I wasn't having the progress I was hoping that I would have.
Yeah.
And that's okay. It just like maybe it was just going to take me longer, but I think being with Yami and him being the coach that he is and really me kind of explaining my mindset to training and my thoughts towards it and having him back up what I was feeling in my own training gave me the confidence to kind of just keep doing what I was doing and also tweak things that I could maybe improve on. And so being around Yami and of course Annie Frederick, Lauren and Khan, my whole team there was amazing. And this is something I knew. I think there's a lot of things that like, you know, but you don't maybe execute on as regularly as you should. Like I know doing things in a group generally get you better than doing things alone. For the years previously, I was mostly running alone just because the crew I was with were all pretty good runners and they didn't need to work on it the way I did. And I wasn't on a team, so it wasn't directly beneficial for them to help me improve my running.
Yeah.
Whereas when you're on a team, it's directly beneficial for you to improve the things that your teammates are poor at. So like when I'm training with my team, any of my teams, I'm watching them lift all the time, trying to give them as best feedback as I can to get them in better positions or to lift heavier or whatever it may be, because it's directly beneficial to the results that our team is going to have and therefore the results that I'm going to get. And so being in Iceland, having that group around me, knowing it was directly beneficial for our team to help me get better at running as a group every time we had a track session, even we would set up in like this back corner of CrossFit Reykjavik, like 5 or 6 air runners, because generally BK and Kat would be training with us. So there'd be like 6 air runners, and you could see our heart rates all up on a projector. And Yami and Frederick are patrolling the air runners, making sure you're on pace, grabbing you water, just being the perfect coaches during a session like that, so that all we have to focus on is putting our best effort forward. And that was kind of the mindset for that team, was everyone's just doing the best that they have for that day. And if we all do that collectively, we're going to be, happy with our effort by the end of the season. And I was definitely still nervous at the end of the year, because you feel yourself getting better and you can see the results, but you haven't had like the test yet. And Con and BK are both really great runners in the individual world. And so I knew I was still lagging behind them, but I was keeping up pretty well with Annie and Lauren, and like they're also pretty good runners like in their realm. So I was kind of somewhere in between, but we hadn't had that test yet to be like, okay, maybe. So we didn't really know. We were hopeful for like a top 10, I think, that year in the running event. That's kind of what we had planned for. Top 5 would be really great. The top 10 would be kind of what we were prepared to handle.
Yeah.
And so it ended up that what got programmed fit what we were training for pretty well. I'm definitely a better like mile runner than I am a 3-mile runner, or at least I was at that point. And so I was pretty confident in that, and we ended up taking 3rd. And that was my first time taking outside of a bottom 5 in a run event ever in CrossFit. So that was like a really special moment for me.
But even like, I remember seeing pictures of like, having not known a lot of what was going into your preparation and stuff, you see a workout like that coming up, and my assumption was, and you can forgive me for this if you want, my assumption was like, all right, it's going to be, if there's a rope, it's going to be Can holding the rope and pulling like Tola along, and like just trying to get him to keep up and just trying to like push him as much as he can. But any photos I saw of the run was like you were in front or you were in second. Like it's not like you were like slogging behind, like just like, wait, guys, like really struggling with it. And I think that was what was most impressive, was that like you were more than holding your own in it. It wasn't a case of like, oh, Tola got through that one, like, well done. It was like you were pushing the pace, you were keeping up with everyone, and like as a group we're moving forward rather than lagging behind.
Yeah, so again, I was really happy with how I executed that workout. However, a lot of teams went, so it was a mile all 4, then any 2 teammates run another mile directly after while 2 rest, and then the other 2 finish it out.
Yeah.
Most teams had to go male for the second portion, and Lauren was a good enough runner, is a good enough runner for her to go ahead and take that second mile. So I think that allowed me to be in the best position I could have been in that workout, and I wanted to take advantage of it. And I think a big part of the running is not, if you're scared of what the workout is, you're not racing.
Yeah.
And I'm not scared of running a mile. I'm more scared of like a 5K. And so me having an event where I know that if I just execute to my ability, like I've run a few sub 6 minute miles, like I'm pretty confident I can go do one pretty much any day. And to be in a position where all I had to do was do my best was really helpful for me. I think we probably would not have done as well if I had to go directly into the second mile, but that's what being on a team is about. You want to put everyone in the most beneficial position that you can to have the best result. And like, there's no like, I'm not a, I'm not afraid to say that. I think some people would be like, oh no, like I can definitely do that. I'd be like, hey, if you want the best result out of me, I should go first and I should go last, and we'll figure out the middle portion. Con,
Mm.
obviously, and then Lauren was definitely more enduring at that point in a 2 mile than Annie was. And also, like Annie was a little nervous for that second mile with me because she knew like I could push that to a pretty good pace. And every time I see her, we talk about that event because it was like a great moment for both of us. We were both nervous about it, and we executed really well. And we're like, maybe 1K in, and she's like, push me, and I'm like, I'm in the zone. But I heard her, and like we've practiced this, of course. Like you'll see like teammates running with their hands on their backs, and I wasn't as used to it as like someone like Con would be, and I just kind of got my hand on her back and pushed, and I pushed a little hard, and she just went absolutely flying. And we like have a laugh about it now, but it was just cool to be in a position where I was like, oh, I'm pushing Annie.
Yeah,
Like a cool situation.
it is. Yeah, it's really cool. Um, what about the team itself then? Like when you how did it transpire that you got a call? Like was it were you suggested? Did you put yourself forward? Like how did that come about?
I'm not quite sure. I got a call. I got a DM, and it was just like a very random DM, like very straightforward. Hey, would you move to Iceland to go team with me this year, or something like that, from Annie? And I was
Was this
like,
on like New Year's Eve or something, or somewhere around the festive
it was
period?
no, it was not on New Year's. It was a little before that, maybe in like November, December, because I was doing Dubai, and that's usually in December.
Yeah. Okay.
And my first like my gut reaction was like nah, this wasn't supposed to go to me. Like maybe Annie's drunk, and then I was like, I don't think Annie drinks.
Yeah. You were
And
like checking the page. Is this a
yeah,
real page or
yeah,
like a file
yeah.
page?
I call her and we chat about it for a little bit, and I was like, okay, like who are you thinking for girls? Like who are you thinking for other guys? And she was like very straightforward. She was like, I'm talking to a few guys. Like there's a few options out there, and I was like, okay, like maybe I need some time. Like maybe give me like till Christmas or something. And she's like, nah, that's too long. But like think about it and get back to me when you want. And I was like, okay. I hung up the phone. I called my guy. Like his name's Dan, but he's like my guy who I go to for like working through stuff like
Yeah.
this. And we talked it through, and like basically within 5 minutes, I was like, all right, I got to do this. And I called her back the next day, and she was expecting me to tell her that I couldn't do it. And I was like, yeah, let's do this. She was like, okay. And so she had already kind of locked in Lauren at that point, I believe. And then we were working on a second guy, and we just kind of fell through like a few plans. I believe, I'm not really sure exactly, but I had done demo team with Con, and we got along really well. I love Con. He's one of my best friends. And I called him and I was like, I told Annie you might be interested. I haven't talked to you about this yet, but like, would you be down? And he was like, yeah. And that's how it went. And then it was
It,
just like,
it's crazy though, because like when you think about it, so uh maybe it's just because I'm paying more attention since you guys moved there. But from where I'm sitting, that DM or call or whatever kind of changed the trajectory of both of your careers. Like it changed what could have happened into, I think, something like potentially remarkable. So I think if you hadn't had that year in Iceland, and if you hadn't been training with Annie and under Yami and Friedrich, I am not sure that the proven thing would have happened, and I'm
Mm.
not sure that this year would have happened because I think, like you say, you always had that potential. You always like you were working on things, but it just hit different when it was in Iceland. And like Yami is just unbelievable coach at spotting things and like little tweaks and stuff like that that the average person or even the best coaches might never think of. Like he's just ahead of his time, I think. And it's the same for Khan, where I don't think he would have had like he's been unfortunate with injuries and stuff, but I don't think he would have expected to be on the precipice of an individual run had it not been, or he mightn't have had the confidence to go for an individual run had it not been for that time in Iceland as well and shoring up all those gaps that he felt he had. Like it's remarkable how one small decision or like one like for Annie to just say like what about Tola and send you a message has in my view completely changed things, and then the fact that you did it and thought of Khan has completely, so like her DMing you just changed both of your careers, I think.
Yeah, for sure. Annie has that kind of power. She is one of the greatest of all time. I mean, it's undeniable. Um, and so I knew like whether or not the team ended up working out, like you never know until you know.
Yeah,
I knew that being around her would be special in some way. Like there's just athletes that you get to spend time around and you're like, you're a little different. Like, okay. Like I've spent time around like Tia now, for example, and like, okay, you're also different in a different way, but like
yeah,
it's it's this aura that they have of excellence, and I love being around that. I would always prefer to be the worst one in a training camp because I know I'm going to improve the most.
yeah, yeah.
I'm happy to be that person every single year, and I think that's also why I've had a fairly steady but linear progression. Is like I'm always looking for that. I'm every year I want to be on the best team possible, and I would like to be the worst one.
Yeah.
Because if I'm the worst one, like I know the amount of work I'm willing to put in to not let my teammates down, and hopefully everything will work out and we'll do really great.
It's cool as well. Like you're something else that you said in Miami, uh, your awareness or like your self awareness to say, all right, I'm not there yet for going as an individual. So like, what are my options? Because a lot of people, I think, tend to run themselves into the ground, being like, I need to go again, I need to go again, I need to go again. And it's just this cycle of like disappointment, hope, like banjacks in your body, disappointment, hope. But it's just you're just stuck in this cycle. And I think it takes a lot for someone to have the self-awareness to say, like, do you know what? Like, fuck this. I'm actually better off doing this other option.
Yeah, so I feel that a little bit last year and this year, and I think I'm kind of in that window for me where I'm in slash entering like a peak phase of
Yeah.
my ability, and I wholeheartedly believe this year, last year, and maybe another year or two, like I could go individual if I decide to make that decision. Um, like I feel ready, and all the other times I've tried, I thought it was possible if it everything lined up well, if the programming lined up, if I had the right competition, et cetera, et cetera. But I didn't feel like I was completely prepared. Like it's just like when you take a test in school, you know if you studied enough or not. It's either there or it's not. Sometimes you might get lucky, but if you prepare the right way, you get a good grade. Like that's kind of how I feel about training as well. I feel very prepared now. Like even so, we've had what at games, and then we did Australia and Miami. I think we had like a 5K ish run at all of them, and I'm not excited when I see one, but at this point I feel prepared for it, which is you're able to compete a different way when you're prepared for the tests, like
Yeah.
are. Um, and so I feel like that's also a factor in being able to place higher, and especially like this last one where it's only guys, like you're only competing against. I mean, the Wadapalooza teams were awesome, like so many great guys and so many phenomenal individuals. And that's the only time where, we get to compete against each other. Like obviously it's a competition, but it's also we get to spend time with each other and enjoy it and chat about training and chat about life. And to have a 5K in there and place pretty well. I think we got fifth or something
Mm.
against all of the best guys in the world. Like they're all there. And that was the first time where I felt like I didn't get like lucky for the programming of a run where it's something I know I'm like competent at. I was just like, we'll see how we do. I feel like I'm prepared enough to hit this, to the best of my ability. Hopefully we get a good result. And if we don't, like it'll be because of me, because Chandler and Noah are both really good runners. And then I can talk to my coach and be like, okay, how far off were we? Like, were we minutes off? Were we like a few seconds? And I would say we were a little off still, but like maybe we were like 15 seconds out of third place in that event. And like,
Yeah.
I'm okay with that for where we are in the season right now.
Yeah. Um, who is your coach now?
Joachim. He is the Krieger training coach out of
Oh, yeah.
North. I think he is actually Swedish, but he coaches all the Norwegians. Worked with Kristen Holta, and
Is
that
he her
crew.
partner or no?
No, I don't believe so.
Okay. Okay. I don't want to start any rumors.
No, no,
I've obviously have the wrong
I
guy.
don't believe so.
Business partner.
Uh,
Okay. And then so you've been with you were with Invictus for like a long time, but initially, right?
yeah, so I've been with like every group possible, which is I think it's cool. I think maybe I don't like talk about it much, but I have a really, I think, great relationship with like pretty much every training group that I've been a part of. My first one was actually Misfit. It's like Misfit Athletics. Those guys are great. I did like got to meet some really cool athletes. I met like Alec there and Cody, and then like a few years later, we ended up being teammates and like living in Boston together and getting to train out of. We trained out of Invictus Boston. I lived there for 5 years, and that was like where my competitive like CrossFit career kind of kick started, I would say.
Mm.
Originally Reebok CrossFit Back Bay, but then we transitioned to partner with Invictus. And so Invictus, and then to Underdogs for a little bit. And the reason that happened is because I knew Justin.
Oh, you
Uh,
did that AF3 with him, was it?
I did. I have three, and also the Grid League was like my
Oh,
yeah, that was my initial intro into fitness, functional fitness at 19. I was on the Boston Iron team. He coached the DC Brawler team, and so like I'm from Maryland, so I kind of like I wanted to be on that team, but I ended up being on the Boston team, and it was my favorite team I've ever been on, and it was like still one of the most fun times I've ever had. And that's why I moved to Boston, because those guys, I knew they had my back, and I coached for them for 5 years. I coached CrossFit and weightlifting, and just kind of started to get all the tools that I was going to need to be able to do this in a serious way.
When you started doing grid, was like, were you attracted to that because you did gymnastics like when you were a kid, like when you were younger
I
than
had
that,
no
right?
idea what it was. I was like, I had just dropped out of college. I was 19. Like, I think it was like winter semester or something. So I was like maybe just in the new year, like 2016. Um, and I had just got my L1, and I like just started coaching. And one of our members was like, "Hey, have you heard of this thing? It's called like Grid League. basically he was like, "You're not that fit, but I think you'd be good at this because like you're strong and you're good at gymnastics." And I did like, yeah,
Backhanded.
this is like totally true, totally fair. Um, but I did like some of the tests, and like they invited like you do like a we did a pro day, and then if you do well there, you like go to the combine, and I did okay at both, and like wasn't really sure, and then ended up like getting pulled for the Boston Iron team as like a reserve athlete, but like still on the team. And then one of our guys got injured, and I figured out how to do butterfly muscle ups, and then I was a starter, and it was cool.
Um, is that it? Was that like maybe it's different because you were a reserve? Was that like lucrative? Was it like pay? Maybe not lucrative, but was it like better rewarded financially than say being a CrossFit athlete is?
Um, Not for me. I think they blew their load really early. Um, but like as a 19-year-old being paid to like do anything was pretty
Yeah.
cool, especially when it's working out and like, oh, like someone's paying for me to like fly to California. How cool. So like to be making any kind of money just
Yeah.
as a
Everything's a bonus.
yeah, as like a freshie was really special, and also it kind of laid the blueprint for how I've always thought teams should be run and talent should be scouted, and how to make the best teams possible for what you have. And we weren't always able to do it because we just didn't have the resources. But I think if you have the resources, like there's a way to do it that is beneficial for the athletes, beneficial for whoever, you know, the entity is that's going to run the team or own the team. And I think it can lead the team division into a like a really cool space. I have lots of thoughts about the team division, but I'm a firm believer that it can be way cooler than it is right now. Um, and way more enticing, not only for like athletes, but also for people watching, um, who like to watch CrossFit.
Is that so? I want to dive in there a bit. So the enticing, are you talking about programming? Are you talking about like making it more viewer friendly? Because who was it? I was talking to Joshua Shama, and he said at no point would his mom be able to just turn on games workout and know what was happening. And he was like, that's one of the stumbling blocks, that you can't just like flick it on and be like, look at the screen and say, okay, I get it. I know who's winning and what's happening.
I would agree, and I think that's something Grid did a great job of. There is like a clear like there's 4 quadrants. You race from 1 to 4, super simple every time, and everything about the race has changed, but it was always like start to finish. And like we kind of have start mats and finish mats, but there's always like, you got to go back and tag and this and that. And the programming is a little bit of it, which like, of course, you want the test to be like well rounded. So it's hard to have a well rounded test with all of the events being viewer friendly. Like that's definitely a hard thing to do. People are not going to like this, but in my opinion, 40 teams is too many at this point with where the sport's at. If you look at the individuals, you have 40, and you have any individual in those 40 that can win any event, depending on the event. Whereas in the team division, I believe like last year, the top 3 teams won or got second in every event. So like there was just not a whole lot of there's not a whole lot of wiggle room, which is frustrating when you do really well and maybe have one that's not great. Obviously, it
Yeah,
made
or like you need favors from other teams, but there's just nobody of the caliber to come between you and someone else or whatever.
and I think we're getting there. I think there's going to be like 8 really good teams this year that I've heard about, and I'm excited to compete against. I think it makes it more fun as a competitor as well, because you know there's like something can always happen. Like, and I think that's how it should be. Like you should know that every event matters. Like there's not like, oh, we're just gonna walk away with this one, or
Mm.
like we we're not going to win, but we'll like easily take a top 3. Like there's just no one that can compete. And so I think 40 teams is too many. I think something like 20 teams would be much better, because then you get the best talent from those 40 teams and you just put it into 20 teams. That makes the race a lot closer, in my opinion.
So is it like, in order to make it, it needs to sort of move further away from the affiliate cup and closer towards the kind of super teams league, if you want to commercially make it viable, I guess?
Yeah, I would say it would need to go that way. So I've competed on.
The only ones who don't agree are teams 21-40. Like, we need more teams.
And they did that. They went from a 6-person team to a 4-person team. Like
Yeah.
I was on the last tier of 6-person teams, so I got to experience that a little bit, and that made it more viewer friendly and more competitive. And then there was a year, I think it was 2019, where they were doing the national champion thing still. So there was like hundreds of individuals, but the only way to qualify a team was to win a sanctional event.
Yeah.
And so there was a total of 13 teams at the games. And that year was wild. Like super teams everywhere. During the sanctionals, when people were trying to qualify, like Rogue had a team division that year, and like OC3 won Rogue, and then we got second. Mayhem got third. We had to like go to French Throwdown to compete against Mayhem again, different Mayhem team, but also a super team to like try to qualify for the games. And then like getting to the games, every single team was like, it was that situation where depending on the workout, any one of the 13 teams could win. And that felt really cool. It felt more professional, in my opinion. Like,
would you have the teams with the individuals still in this like revamped format? Would you have like, say, the same scenario? Like I envisage, I don't know, but I envisage what's going to happen this year in Texas, because there was like 2 dates released early on and they kind of overlapped. And I thought, okay, well, it's only teams and individuals that are going to be there. So I think they might do teams from, say, Tuesday to Thursday or Tuesday to Friday, and do individuals from like Thursday to Sunday. So like have a couple of days overlap, but the teams will have their own slot at the start. Individuals will have their own slot at the end. Kind of like the age groups and the individuals used to overlap in Madison or whatever. Do you think that's a good format, or would you rather have, all right, the team competition is going to be the first week in September or the first week in August, and the individual competition is going to be the last week in July, say?
I'm impartial to whether we go at the same time as the individuals or not. I think at this point, there's a lot of team athletes who were individuals at one point, or a lot of individuals who are like, maybe I'm going to transition to team. And I think it's maybe better for the community to have everyone there at the same time. Mm-hmm. But I think it's way easier to, I mean, if you cut the teams in half, that's like,
yeah,
what's 4 times 20? 80?
80 even, yeah, it's less heats. It's less heats.
Less heats. You can have like 2 heats, and then maybe after 2 days of competition, you go top 10, and then you have 2 heats of 5, and then it's just like better coverage. You really know who's who, and there's not that kind of like, I don't like when you're watching the first heats at an event and they're getting like the announcers don't know who they are, like they're not, maybe just like not doing very well. I like, if we're trying to professionalize the sport of CrossFit, we have to treat it professionally, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I kind of like, I agree as well. I kind of think that like semifinals is the place for that. Semifinals is the place for teams to, you know, like, hey, shit, we made it, this is cool. Like let's see what kind of damage we can do or whatever. I don't think going to like flying to fucking America and competing, like, I just don't, you know, it's just, it kind of turns into also rans when you have teams where it's like, all right, let's try not finish last in this one, and it's like, no disrespect, still great that you made it there, but I just think that semifinals is kind of the cutoff for that. Hey, let's give it a bash and see what happens attitude, as opposed to going to, well, now Texas, and being like, oh, like, cool, we got free t-shirts, let's see what happens now. It's kind of, as you say, if you want to professionalize sport, you need to kind of have a cut-off line somewhere where there's a filter where people or teams that are just having a bit of fun maybe have a different opportunity to do that. Like
Yeah,
if they want to make money off it, why can't they do a community division at the games
for
and
sure.
do like, all right, like you can enter, you can buy your ticket and enter and whatever.
Yeah. I just yeah, I would totally agree with the I think the time of like just trying to make the games to have fun is dwindling quickly.
Hmm.
I think it's gone in the individual division, and I think it's leaving swiftly in the team division as well. Just there's too many people that are too good.
Yeah.
Everyone is very fit. And if you're not doing all of the things, or you're just an absolute freak of an athlete, you're just going to be behind, I think.
Off topic. Tola is the most handsome man in CrossFit, and Tola
Yeah,
is so
especially
fine.
right now. I'm going to do my hair, but it's fine.
There's another one somewhere else. Are you single, Tola?
I am.
You kind of like. I feel like you'd have to either be in a relationship with someone incredibly understanding, or be single to be like, all right, I'm moving to Iceland. All right,
Yeah,
I'm moving back to Miami. Or like I'm moving to Nashville. I'm moving to Miami. You'd have to either have someone that's just like, I love you and I'll go wherever you go, or else just be single.
superwoman. I am single. Yeah, it is. I move quite a bit, and I really enjoy moving, and I enjoy living in new places. And I think I have some time for the rest still.
Yeah. Yeah. Her day will come, whoever she is. And this year, then, so it was interesting speaking to Noah. He was saying that basically him and Chandler came up with a list of, hey, if we're going to do a team, who should we have on our team? Like, we'll come up with a list of girls. And then Noah had the idea of coming up with a list of, or someone did, of coming up with a list of two guys and two girls to basically train with and compete against and like push and see how things could go. And your name popped up, and Noah said that Chandler said, hey, like, Tola's the right man for this job. If you can get Tola, like, forget me, just like, cut me out and pick him. Joe, in jest, I think was how Noah put it. So when you get that call, then having done Iceland, having done Nashville, having like just missed out on podium, having podiumed and just missed out on like victory, are you like, fuck yeah, I'm ready? Or is there any kind of apprehension? Because you mentioned that you kind of feel like you're ready now if you wanted to make a run at individual. Was there any part of you that was like, oh, if this is anyone other than Noah, I'd probably say no and I want to go individual? Like, was there any kind of angst about it?
I think that I really enjoy being on a high level team because I think it's best for me. It gives me a good balance. I enjoy it, and I don't have this like desire at the moment to try to win the games as an individual. Um, it comes and goes every now and again. I'm like, I could do it. But if I go individual, I think it would more so be like, I'm going to go compete, have a good showing. I would definitely have a goal. I would say like something like a top 10. I wouldn't want to compete unless I felt prepared for like a top 10. Like I want to be
Yeah.
competitive. I don't just want to go. So like that, and I know the mindset that I would need to be in for an entire year to make that a reality. Um, as far as team goes, I have to like the sound of the team. There's a few people, if they asked me and if they had the right circumstances, that I would probably never go individual if they wanted to go team. Just because I would enjoy life too much,
Yeah.
being around them or being in that environment. And I think this is one of those times where like I was like, I would not now be on a team if I didn't think they had potential of winning. I'm not saying my team is going to win. There's going to be a lot of great teams, but I am confident that we will be in the race. And I feel like if you think your team's going to win right off the bat, you're underestimating your competition. And I think that is a unfavorable stance to take. I think if you watch any sports over any amount of time period, like anything can happen on any playoff or any final or any semifinal. Like things happen in sports. People are supposed to win and they get blown out, or like someone gets upset. And that's just the way sports work. But I'm confident that like this team is going to be in the race. And I think we can punch it home this time.
Do you like listen to the talk? So obviously, like that first year, obviously these I'm kind of categorizing these 3 years as like one block, like Iceland, Proven, and this year. That first year, it was like the whole narrative leading up to the games was Annie versus Rich. It was like Iceland versus Mayhem, and who's going to win, and who's going to come first, and who's going to come second. And then obviously the season doesn't transpire that way. Well, the season was transpiring fine, and then unfortunate injury, and just like it just didn't go to plan on game day, we'll say. Then last year, the narrative was who's finishing second behind Proven was the narrative. Because it was like, oh shit, they've got Andrea and Taylor, and like they've done it all in team, and now they've got Tola, and Tim is brilliant. Like, here we go, who's finishing second? And I know from speaking to the Invictus guys, that lit a fire under them because they were like, fuck, if no one's going to talk about us, we'll make people talk, basically. And it kind of ramps up the tension a bit. And then now going into this year, like, has it been difficult, or like, do you ignore that kind of chatter? Like, do you just say like, yeah, look, say whatever you want? Like, as you just said, it's kind of like you never really know what's going to happen on game day, etc., etc. But like, is it possible to fully block out all that kind of conversation and all that kind of talk and those articles or posts or whatever?
Yeah, I don't talk shit because I feel like you look really dumb when you can't back it up. And I'd rather just perform my best and have let that do all the talking. And if you perform poorly, then that also does the talking. That was definitely the narrative last year.
And as well, I want to be clear, it wasn't the narrative being spun by, say, Annie's team that year, or Rich's team, or like the Proven team last year. It's not like the piece being put out was, we are going to win this. It was just kind of the general assumption from the masses, I guess.
Yeah. It's always tough. I feel like we had the potential to win the games. I feel like we were lined up in a good way. I also felt like there were certain events that could come up, and this is early in the year, that we were not going to be prepared for because we did not put in the correct amount of preparation. And one of those happens to be a 5K run that I knew we were not adequately prepared for. And once it gets announced, there's really nothing you can do at that point if you haven't put in the preparation. And so that was definitely daunting for our team. And I think our whole team knew it. And we were going to, of course, do our best. But we placed significantly lower than we had planned for. And we weren't prepared. And it just didn't go great on game day. And like I said, that kind of stuff happens. But it is also tough when you we had a team meeting today, and Joachim put up our placing for my team last year, and it's like 111, 120, 1 2, 1 2, 1 2, or something like that. And it's just like so close. Um, but yeah, it was in my opinion, just a lack of preparation, not a lack of ability. And I am confident that my team will be adequately prepared this year to handle all tests to the best of our ability. And if we win, great. We would love to. I would love to. But if we don't, I don't think it's going to be because we weren't prepared enough.
Are you anyway like bitter over last year? Are you anyway like, you know, is it more than frustration that you didn't finish the way you felt you could have when you initially signed up, say?
I wouldn't say bitter. I would just say like I've done enough sports and I've done sports for long enough to know that like sometimes you're supposed to win and you don't win. Uh, I used to be a wrestler. My senior year in high school, I was 39-0 going into the state finals, wrestling someone I had beat in the regional finals, supposed to win, and I didn't win. And like, you know, 39-1, still pretty good, but just not 40-0.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Um, for example, last year, Invictus beat us. There's not like, oh, we should have won. Like, sorry, that's an ambulance going by.
Yeah.
There's no like, oh, we should have won this, that, and the other. They beat us. We weren't prepared for an event, but I think we were just as talented of a team. I don't think like they just beat us.
Yeah.
They like there's no. Sometimes you just don't win.
Yeah. Speaking of not winning, someone would obviously have to lose this. Colton Colton wants to know if you want to wrestle. If we're talking about professionalizing the sport, a halftime show of you and Colton, preferably some baby oil involved. I mean, I'm just throwing it out there. There doesn't have to be, but just that's the way I'd want it. One of those inflatable little tubs, and like Jello or something.
Like you'd be type to like come off the top rope
Yeah.
and you with like an elbow.
I kind of feel like, have you ever watched those like
I
those
like
kind
that for a team.
those old kung fu movies where someone's like, there's always one guy who's like unpredictable and just moves around. It's like a rat, just moves around real fast and like gets in and out between people. I feel like that would be
Oh,
Colton's. I feel like he'd just be wildly unpredictable, that you kind of stand face to face with him. He's unemotive, doesn't move, no facial expression, nothing. And then he just like jumps at you like a fucking lizard or something. I just think, yeah, I can't. I wouldn't be able to, pardon the pun, but I wouldn't be able to pin down his wrestling style if you pay me to do it. I just think,
yeah, I got you pinned down.
um, yeah, that'd be something I'd like to see. There doesn't have to be Jello or baby oil, I don't mind. With just even the sound of that one, because I know Lena arrived like yesterday or the day before yesterday, whatever. And I think Matilda has been there since Whatappalooza, more or less. Is that right? But even the sound of that, the fact that you had that call, I know the Krieger guys are not the type of coaches or, you know, uh, athletes or any type of professionals in the space to just be like, well, we should do good, so let's just see what happens. Like, they're meticulous, they're like exhaustive in their preparation for stuff, and they've proven it over like years that, I mean, they had so many fucking teams at semifinals last year and so many teams in the games, like it's nuts. Is it safe to say that this, like, you anticipate being more prepared for this season than any other season with that kind of preparation? I guess it's similar to Yami's approach. It's that kind of Scandinavian vibe of like no details left to chance.
Yeah, I feel we are going to be very prepared for hopefully anything. We'll see what we get. Texas is going to be new. It's going to be hot. I don't know, like maybe we won't do as many things outside. I don't know if we're going to be able to swim. So I don't think anyone knows. I don't really know how much like biking is possible there, but you know, they always find a way. So we'll see what we get. But I'm all of the concerns of what we need to work on, like we all know what it is for every person already, and there's no like we're just not going to do that well at that event if it comes up. Like there's none of that. There's like, how do we maximize that starting now, like we have 7 months. Like that is plenty of time to make a massive improvement in one area. There's also like one of my favorite things about being on a team is like you it really matters that you work on your weaknesses. Like as an individual, you can get by for a long time, like just getting by with stuff you're not great at. But if you want to be on like a high level team, like you really have to focus on your weaknesses. You have to do the things you don't really want to do. And I think it's would be really beneficial for a lot of individuals to take a year of team. I think they would have huge improvement if they decided to go back to individual, just like a full year of being like still training super hard, but you don't have to be peak at everything. You just have to really work on that one thing that's holding you back, because you obviously already have all the other tools to be able to put all of that together. I think it would be great for a lot of individuals, especially like there's a lot of really talented young guns coming up, and I always tell them, I'm like, hey, like I think you're really talented, like I know you have like a thing going, but if you get the opportunity to be on a good team, like I would definitely take it. Learning from like learning from someone like Annie and Yami, T and Shane, like it's just invaluable in my opinion. And I would rather have that than have taken that year, maybe qualified for the games, like hard maybe, and like then been like 30th place. Like that just doesn't sound as fun as the year I had in Iceland. You know what I mean?
Mm. I think I asked you on this show like, or maybe about 2 years ago, and then again about like 8 months ago or 9 months ago, and you were like, "Yeah, I'll think about it." Like maybe like basically never seem to do these. Why are you? Is it like just you don't enjoy doing it? Like what's the reservation?
I'm just not a big social media kind of guy. I do my best with it, but it's definitely like not a passion of mine.
Yeah.
Probably have like more cool sponsors if I were, but it's just like not my vibe. I'm happy to talk. Like I'm not like mean. I'm just
That's not what I was insinuating, by the way.
yeah, just kind of keep to myself.
Yeah, it's interesting because obviously it's a chore, and I was kind of talking to someone about this earlier on as well. How there is this kind of um, like there are certain people that being on a podcast is valuable to. Like, I think you're adding value to me here rather than me adding value to you, for example. But there are other people that I could have on this show where I feel like I would be adding value to them as opposed to the opposite, because I could share their story with people or whatever. If there's someone who's like lesser known or whatever. But then there is a point, I think you get to a certain point on like your trajectory or whatever, or on one's trajectory, where it becomes like it's almost like charity. It's like, well, I don't need to do this. I have like however many followers, I can speak to them anytime I want. Like I don't like I'm doing fine. It's not like I'm suddenly struggling and I need what you know what I mean? It's kind of there comes a point where it's like, oh, I actually don't need to do this, as opposed to, man, I need to get my face out there and I need to like spread around a bit. But I kind of my response was that like it's basically like community interaction of, say, if it was if you were coming on here, in my opinion, maybe you can correct me if I'm wrong, but in my opinion, if you were coming on here for selfish reasons, you'd be wasting your time. As in, like, there's so much better stuff you could do with your time with an hour and a bit than coming on to this show and talk to me if your reasons were purely like self-motivated of, I want to, you know, earn some fame, or I mean, you're in the wrong fucking place, but you know what I mean? Whereas like I think it's that sort of community feel of like, oh, I could reach more people and like share a story with more people. And maybe like you're talking about those young guys about advising them to do a team. You never know who's going to see this, or not just this, but any show that you do or whatever. So it is interesting how there's this kind of like, it just becomes a point where it's like, right, this isn't for me anymore. It's like I'm doing this for other people. I think
Mm.
that's why I was so keen to get you on, was because I've basically never heard I basically never heard you speak until I spoke to you at the games. And then I was like, oh, that's what Tola sounds like. And then I was like speaking to you in Miami. I was like, this guy's fucking smart. Like he knows his shit. And I was like, right, mission on now to just get him on the show properly because he has a lot to say. So yeah, I'm not criticizing you for not doing them. I'm just curious as to it's just interesting that some people love doing them and some people just like, nah, not interested.
Yeah, I think it definitely doesn't feel like charity, so to speak. Like I'm glad that you think it's valuable to have me on, and that makes me happy because I've now gotten a chance to talk to you, and like you seem like a nice dude, and like I enjoyed our conversation, and
I'm a good actor, man. A real good actor.
you posed questions to me in a way that I felt like I could give a thoughtful response, and I wouldn't want to be in a situation. I feel like there are some different shows that are more like trying to do a hit piece on someone or just talking shit, and I'm like that's not really my vibe. Like I really enjoy our community and I want it to grow and I want the sport to become professional in the way that I know it can. And I think there's a lot of kind of opposing forces pulling it both ways. And I think that talking shit about the athletes or the community or people's performances is not the way to go about it. Um, Obviously, some people enjoy watching that kind of stuff. So, to each their own. But I've never been, like I said, I'm not a shit talker. Just like I want to win, but I would rather win with everyone else winning, just not as much as I'm winning.
Yeah.
Like
Uh,
I
an
don't want not like
altruistic
oh,
approach.
I want them to lose. Like I want them to have a bad day and like underperform. Like no, I want to beat you and I want to beat you fair and square and I want to feel good about it and I want you to know that we were just better than you.
Yeah. It's interesting though, like it is as I say, each their own, but uh, like I guess if you're talking about professionalizing the sport, and if you look at like I don't know, I don't follow American football. I follow like soccer, but it's the
Yep.
same in all sports really. You have like a basketball team, another sport I don't follow, but you have a basketball team facing off against another basketball team, and they're both hotly tipped. They play each other. One of them is shit. One of them is good. They just have a bad day, an off day. Their star player just doesn't perform or whatever. Like that player will be criticized and that team will be criticized, and it'll be like, here's what he should have done. And he moved over, they'll have all the diagrams up and they'll see like be moving the pieces around and be like, they should attack this side and blah, 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 like going in on like extreme minutia of the detail of stuff that should have been done. And I think the difference is when it's in the sport like CrossFit is more like golf, where when it's like one person and you're criticizing one person or critiquing one person and saying they shouldn't have dropped the bar or they're moving too slowly or they need to do this that or the other, and then it's seen as being more about like the individual rather than you're still talking about a sport, and
Mhm.
it's not like a character assassination, it's like a performance assassination, if you know what I mean. It's like he should have done or she should have done this, this, and this, or look at the way they approach this. Why are they breaking for so long? Or, they were weak at this last year. Have they not practiced it to get better at it this year? And if you withdraw, so say if someone is saying that about Tola, hypothetically, and
Mhm.
if you have the word like, Tola needs to move faster and he's taking too many breaks and blah, blah, blah. It sounds harsh when it's like one person walking across the floor and it's their name being said. But if
Yeah.
that was like the fucking Bronco Buccaneers need to up their game. You know what I mean? If it's like a team name, it suddenly becomes less human and it's more like, oh, you can say whatever the fuck you want. But when it's an individual, then that's when it sounds like an attack more so than like a criticism. Like I understand what you're saying, but I guess I view most of the uh sources that people might consider to be attacks, like Hitler's stuff or Savan's stuff or anything that people might perceive as that kind of thing. Those kind of, like you say, it's different horses for different or different courses for different horses. People like different things and stuff, and you have to appeal to everybody. You can't have a scenario where the only things to watch or to consume are like vanilla kind of pray, like, you know, everything's great all the time, like there's nothing wrong ever. And you know, oh, like hypothetically again, oh, Jeffrey won the games last year and this year he finished last, but hey ho, he gave it his best shot, you know, like you
Yeah.
can't have
So
that in a scenario, you know.
I'm actually okay with most of Hiller's stuff. Like, doesn't really bother me because most of it's about movement quality, and I think that needs to be upheld. So I'm like, no issues there.
Yeah.
Um, I think there are some where like they get into like people's personal business, and I feel like that's just like you probably don't know the whole story, and that's just like not my feel. I don't think it's
You
I
mean
don't
like moving
think it's
away from the
appropriate to.
competitive, like as in finding reasons outside of the sport for performance, basically, if you know what I mean?
Yeah, I just don't think it's appropriate to talk about someone if you don't know them personally, like their performance aside.
Yeah, yeah, I get you.
Like, you
Yeah,
can talk about their performance, but their performance is different than them as a person. And then also, um, yeah, like you were saying with basketball, just kind of gave me an idea of like increasing the professionalism of the sport. Thinking back to like the team series, I think that was one of my most fun things to watch, like watching the best athletes from
or like
all.
the Europe versus that thing. Yeah,
Yeah, and like looking at the competitiveness between, I think it was maybe 4 or 5 teams. And so like, okay, 40 is too many. What is the right amount? And like, because with those teams, it was super competitive and really exciting to watch, in my opinion. But they also did it in the span of like 2 hours. I don't know if that's possible to do with CrossFit at its current state, but I do know that like if you look at an individual, it's really hard for an individual athlete to put 4 good days together at the CrossFit Games. Like that's a feat. And you have to be able to do that to win, right? And now you're taking that, multiplying it by 4 on a high level team. You're looking for 4 different individuals to all have 4 really good days in a row. It's a different thing, but it's just as hard, in my opinion. And
mm.
so I don't know if shortening the competition like span is possible. Like, could we do as much volume but do it in 2 days? I think in the team division it is possible. Um, I don't think it is in the individual. I think they need all those days because they are
Yeah.
getting hammered. But I don't think the team volume is to a point where we necessarily need 4 days to figure it out.
I guess as well, depending on the type of workouts, like if
For
you
sure.
have work rest, or if you have, you know, or if you're sending, like I always think it would be cool in one event to have like, maybe this is stupid, I don't know, but to have like a 4-part workout where it's like each of the, you know, disciplines or modalities or whatever. So you have like a weightlifting segment and you pick someone and you say, right, Tola, you're doing this. And like Noah, you're gonna do that piece. Like that, like after Tola's window is finished, you're gonna move and you're gonna do that piece. Maybe that's a bit too grid like. But you know, like that you have like a Hunger Games tribute that you push
Yeah,
forward.
yeah. I
Like,
don't think it's too grid-like. I think it gives the athletes a chance to showcase their specialities, which is cool. Like,
it
I
gives those, but as well as anything else, it gives those athletes content for a fucking year. Like it gives
yeah,
them
I
like
don't
all
want to like. There's a lot of really talented lifters, but I don't think I've tried to like hit a heavy lift in 5 years. Like every lift I've hit at a competition is something I'm like, I'm 97% sure I'm gonna hit this.
yeah,
I think it'd be way more fun to give me like 6 minutes and let me try to snatch 350. Because I
yeah,
think I can do it. Honestly, I think I can, but like I don't have a reason to. Like
yeah.
that kind of sounds shitty, But
For the
like,
gram, man, for the gram.
meh, like getting 2 lifts, no one is gonna
Yeah,
lift anything fun, in my opinion. And
yeah,
so I think there's a few different ways to really showcase all of it. The same way, like if you have a 5K run and you are a stud runner, you can showcase that. Like you can run 15 minutes. I'm just gonna be like, that's fucking awesome. But if
yeah,
you're like a really great weightlifter, but you only get 2 attempts, I think it takes away from your ability to showcase how good you are in that aspect of that thing. So I think more entertaining for everyone if the workouts showcase full level of ability,
yeah,
or some of them at least.
yeah. I agree. Um, at Wadapalooza, um, I don't know what your take on it was, but I know Chandler got a bit uh frustrated, and I was getting frustrated at and this isn't a dig at anyone, but the line of questioning of, "Hey Tola, what's it like being with Chandler and Noah, and what's it like? Like it must be so great that it's Chandler and Noah, and that like that they that maybe I'm attributing tone to it, but I felt it was like, wasn't it so nice of them to bring you, like that they brought you for your big day out. When you're asked those kind of questions, like you were asked similar types of questions multiple times, is there any point, any part of you that's like, hey, fuck you, like like I've earned this.
Honestly, I could be, but no, not really. Like as I said earlier, I'm happy to be the worst one on the team.
Hmm. Yeah, I'm not sure that you were, but yeah,
But
that's not,
like
no shade to the other two.
I'm happy for people to think that. Like it doesn't bother me. Like if we have a great performance, I'm not worried about it. Like I'm gonna do the best I can. Like people said the same thing when I was on a team with Annie. Like, oh, so nice of Annie to like bring along these 3 losers.
These guys collected like chip packets, and they made
Yeah.
it.
But I know that in our environment in Iceland, I gave something back to them. So
Yeah.
there's no like, you guys just like, you're not there, so you don't get to see it.
Yeah.
Um, no, it doesn't bother me. And like, if that's like that forever, that means I'm having really awesome teammates for the rest of my life. Like,
Yeah.
oh, so sad for me.
Yeah, that's fair. It's a good way of looking at it. I think I never really thought I had an ego until I started talking to you about that, and then I realized, man, I could be going fucking nuts in my head if I was in his scenario. Like you're very chilled out. Um, are you expecting this? You mentioned when we spoke in Miami, you kind of mentioned that. I'm gonna butcher his name. What's your coach's name again?
Joachim.
Joachim. Okay, I definitely was not going to say that. I was going to go with a hard J. So you kind of mentioned that he and you have more. It seems like more of a kind of a collaborative approach of like, that it's a very two-way street of like, hey, I think this could really help the team, because you've kind of built up that. It's not like you were, uh, say, just on a team at underdogs for 4 years and then came here. It's like you've had the benefit of experience of being with Yami and being in Iceland and being in with Shane and Tia and the Proven Crew in Nashville, and now you're here. So you have the benefit. You've kind of, like, through work and through osmosis, you've just kind of absorbed all this other information from like two very different camps, I guess, as well, and you're bringing them to this another very different camp. So is it fair to say that this would be a more collaborative approach than you've had in the past, where it's more like shared rather than, all right, you guys are going to do this, let me know how you get on, kind of thing?
Yeah, so it's going to be new for all of us because Joachim is remote, so he's doing our programming and our coaching. But like, we're all adults. We've all been on teams. We've all trained for a long time. Like, we have to take a certain amount of responsibility. And if I'm seeing something that one of my teammates needs to work on, and I'm not telling them or telling the coach, like, hey, I think like we got to work on this thing because of these reasons, if they fail at that thing, it's as much on me as it is on them. And that's kind of how I've always felt about team. Like, if my teammate fails, like maybe they underperformed, but as their teammate, I underprepared them.
Yeah.
Like, if we all have that feeling that we're trying to make our teammates the most prepared that they can possibly be, we're in a really good spot.
Yeah. When have you guys started? Like, has it kicked into gear yet? Are you still kind of are you giving Lena like a couple of days to acclimatize?
We have started. We did some team stuff yesterday. I think our big kickoff is like Monday,
Yeah.
but we've started. We are very sore. I am very sore.
Yeah. I'd say of anyone, I feel the worst for Lena because she's just off a flight. So I have more sympathy for her than anyone else. But yeah, it's a rude awakening for especially like Miami because she's coming from Norway, which
Yeah,
is like midwinter, and then she's going to like Miami's pretty fucking hot.
it's
Um,
nice.
yeah. So your semi final is uh no Knoxville. Is that right?
Um, I got to be honest. I don't really do that kind of stuff. I have no idea.
Okay. Yeah, I think it is.
I couldn't
I
tell
think
you when the Open is. I couldn't tell you where our semifinal is. Don't know. Someone will tell me, and I'll be there.
the Open is in 35 days, so be ready for that.
Cool.
Your semi-final is in Knoxville, I believe, and it's the MAC, and
Oh, sick.
the other one is in Carson in this old soccer stadium, I think. Um, and then the games are in Texas.
I do know that.
I'll text you the dates close to the time. Don't want to get you too excited. No, listen. Thank you for coming on. It's like genuinely a pleasure to get to talk to you. I think you're a really good dude. It's really good getting to hear a bit about you. Like, I'm very keen to have you back on again another day. Congrats on everything you've achieved personally and all the different things you've done, all the different teams. It's remarkable. And yeah, good luck with the team this year. It's like there's some fucking decent teams names popping up, so it's going to be a pretty epic
There's going to
battle.
be some fun teams. I think all of my teammates, except for Annie, are going to be on separate teams this year, and all very good teams. So I'm excited to see how we do. Yeah, it's going to be great.
Yeah, I know Khan has mentioned being on a team with James. They've
Yep.
both said that publicly. They haven't said the two females publicly, but you can
Okay,
probably
I
piece it
know who they
together.
are.
Yeah, if you pay attention, you can piece it together, I think. And Invictus are half of Invictus from last year running it back. There's also some strong European teams. Like it's going to be pretty duked out. Aaron said he paid for this, so I'll bring it up. Aaron said people really think that athletes like Noah Chandler or games winners like Annie are going to put Tola on a team if they don't feel he can rise that level. Tola's an amazing athlete and brings a lot.
My dude.
All very accurate. There's a lot of praise in the live chat. I don't know if you've been following along, but a lot of people are. That's actually a very good idea. You should get rewarded for margin of victory. So they should do like Z score or whatever, P score for the snatches or for like to be like, all right, Tola, you won by £100. You get extra points. Well, listen, thank you. Just thanks. You're a good dude. Thanks very much.
Thanks for having me on. Sorry that it took so long. But like I said, if I don't know you, I don't really want to give you my personal talks. So now I have known you. I've talked to you a few times. So thanks for having me on.
No problem. My absolute pleasure.